seeking the blessings of the divine, offering our pranams to Sadhguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, corporate leaders who've gathered here, those watching us live from across 33 countries, a very good morning to all of you and warm welcome to the inaugural session of the Leadership Conclave 2023 with the theme, Nurturing a Values-Based Leadership Approach. To be a leader is to love the purpose, the profession, and the people, and to work passionately to build not just an organization consisting of people who work, but to build a community of noble and able people who are happy to work for a greater cause beyond themselves. Simply put, leadership is not just a role, it's about being an example of selfless living, to be, to do, to see, and to tell, as given by our master, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. We shall commence this morning's session with the ceremonial lighting of the lamp by the dignitaries on the dais. May we please invite everyone for the ceremonial lamp lighting. We invite our girl students of Bachelor of Vedic Studies for the Vedic Invocation, and they will chant the Medha Suktam this morning.
ऊर्जस्वती टीपयसा पिन्वमानासामाहां मेधा सुप्रतीकाजुषन्ताम् मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि यज्ञस्तेजो ददातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि इन्द्र इन्द्रियं ददातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि सूर्यो भ्राजो ददातु हंस हंसाय विद्महे परमहंसाय धीमहि तन्नो हंसः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्री साईश्वरार्पणमस्तु
We would like to extend a very hearty welcome to our dignitaries on the dais. Dr. Kiranmayi Pendyala, Corporate Vice President, HR, UPS India Technology Center. Mr. Kamal Bali, President and Managing Director, Volvo Group, India. Mr. Lakshmi Narayana, Chief Endowment Officer, Wipro, India. Mr. Somdev Devvarman, former professional tennis player. Professor Anantharaman, previously Harvard Business School and currently Provost of the St. Joseph's Institute of Management. He's also the conference chair. Shri B.N. Narsimurthy, Chancellor, Shri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. And Sadhguru Shri Madhusudan Sai, founder, Shri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, a visionary and humanitarian engaged in transforming millions of lives through free nutrition, free education, and free healthcare across 33 countries. Today, many corporates and organizations feel that their growth and long-term sustainability is not just about profitability. It is also about contributing towards a healthy society. Effective organizations are transforming themselves from a financially driven business into a purpose-driven business where love alone is the key influencer. And the key to this lies in the hands of a good leader. The very presence of a leader, it is said, who stands for what he believes in will itself be the greatest influence on others, his teams around him, which would lead everyone to achieving this shared vision or the shared goal of the leader and therefore the organization itself. We will now have the inaugural video of the Leadership Conclave, which will briefly talk to us about the 4 steps of being a good leader and how is it that we can take a values-based approach towards leadership. Can we please have the video?
Servant leadership means to serve first and to lead later. This marks the very first quality of a good leader. This leadership conclave, organized by the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence on the theme Nurturing a Values-Based Leadership Approach, will take us through the step-by-step process to becoming a true leader. Step 1 is to be. A leader must stand for what he believes and must follow what he wants others to follow. The very presence of such a leader will have a great influence on others. Step 2 is to do. Translating his beliefs into coherent and consistent action is the next step. What the leader is must reflect in what he does. Step 3 is to see. Leadership does not stop with individual integrity, but holds a greater responsibility to inspire and motivate the team by keeping one's ear to the ground and keeping the common touch with keen observation. Step 4 is to tell. A leader must communicate properly to bring about the correct course correction at the correct time. Effective communication is key to good leadership, and in today's times, it cannot be more emphasized that it is by living our innate human values that we as individuals, as social and professional groups, as a society and world will prosper. Hence, let's be, do, see and tell as apropos to our heart, our most sacred spot.
We would now like to invite the conference chair, Professor Anantharaman, to please address all of us. Professor Anantharaman is Professor of Strategy, Innovation and General Management, who has taught at several prestigious international business schools in the United States of America, Europe and Asia. He has also served as a UN Industrial Development Organization expert and an advisor to several West African governments on industrial policy. He has served in several senior positions as CEO with multinational corporations in Asia, Africa, and the United States of America. Professor Anantharaman.
Revered Sadhguru, leaders on the dais, leaders in the audience. I shall be brief because you will have to suffer me for 5 minutes at the beginning of each session too. It was Mary Parker Fowley, a social worker, philosopher, and management consultant, who gave us the first definition of management and leadership. It was a simple definition, bereft of all jargon. She said management was simply the art of getting things done by people. But people come in various shapes, sizes, and degrees of neurosis. Predicting and controlling their action has always been a matter of concern. So to the original 4M, men, money, market, and methods, a fifth M had to be added, that of moral values. This led to a new openness in the leadership education to recognize our spiritual nature. Spirituality is difficult to define. The Latin origin of the word spirit is spirare, meaning to breathe. So at its most basic, spirit is what inhabits us when we are alive and breathing. Once spirituality is the essence of who or what she is, it defines the inner self, separates from the body, but including the physical and intellectual stuff. Spirituality, as defined by a researcher in Sloan Management Review, is the basic feeling of being connected with oneself, others, and the entire universe. A dictionary definition of spirit is that which is traditionally believed to be a vital principle of animating force within human beings. Thus, the spirit refers to a deeper sense, meaning, or significance of something. A dictionary definition of a leader is one who shows the way in advance by going in advance, one who causes others to follow some course of action or line of thought. Thus, the leader is the one who influences followers to think or act in a certain way. Combining the two terms suggests that the leader who incorporates spirituality in his work or her leadership will understand his inner self and will foster a sense of meaning and significance among his or her followers. While articulating definitions of spirituality and leadership pose unique challenges of culture and context, this compels the leader to shift to a more holistic approach that focuses on compassion, encouragement, empathy, and service, and to ask some basic fundamental questions. Who are we as a work, team, or department? Is our work worthy? What is our greater purpose? What are our values and ethical principles? And finally, what will be our legacy? Effective solutions to these questions shifts management from a transactional goal to a transformational goal and lays the ground for charismatic leadership. I nostalgically recollect several sessions Baba used to conduct for the staff and students of Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning when I was in faculty there. He called it man management, where with characteristic simplicity, he called this journey as mind of man to role of rules. In his book, God Management, our Sadguru has further focused on this by elaborating the concept of to be, to do, to see, to tell. To translate it to commonly known management jargons, to be focuses on authenticity. To do focuses on walking the talk. To see focuses on teamwork. To tell focuses on communication. We will have 4 sessions today where we would have experts addressing this rites of passage, which may I call from Mary to Maslow to Madhusudan. Welcome to the journey.
Our next speaker is Mr. Kamal Bali, who has been spearheading top global and Indian brands as president and CEO for 2 decades now. For the last 9 years, he's the president and managing director of Volvo Group India, headquartered here in Bangalore. Recently conferred the Distinguished Alumnus Award by the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Roorkee, Mr. Kamal has had an illustrious career spanning many decades, predominantly in automotive and engineering industry. In December 2019, Mr. Kamal was knighted and awarded one of Sweden's highest honors in the Royal Order of the Polar Star Commander by Their Majesties, the King and Queen of Sweden, for his untiring support to the Swedish commerce and industry in India. Mr. Kamal Bali.
Thank you for that very generous introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sadguru Shri Madhusudan Sai, distinguished leaders, delegates, guests on the dais, off the dais. It's a pleasure to be here this morning for this very important Leadership Conclave 2023. I feel really honored and privileged to be part of this phenomenal gathering, and I think over the course of the day, we will have some very interesting discussions and outcomes for a better future for this society and the planet. Let me go through a little bit on what's happening in the world and why leadership by values, leadership with a purpose is becoming so important in the framework going forward. The world, as you all know, is going through a profound churn and transformation. In fact, we are all going through a phase of predictable unpredictability, with uncertainty becoming a new normal. The world is facing consequences of a protracted war in Ukraine, economic slowdown post the pandemic in many parts of the world, inflationary pressures in most parts of the world, extreme weather events which we see, rapid technology disruptions, increased societal inequity. The poor are getting poorer in many parts of the world, so on and so forth. Of course, India is an outlier and is in spotlight, not only because we are the fastest growing economy in the world today, but also because we have demonstrated resilience, especially after the COVID incident. And this is also thanks to institutions and missions such as Sri Sathya Sai University and other institutions that have made a huge difference through their value-based contributions and leaderships. So I would like to give your institution a big hand for that. Your vision of one world, one family could not have been more appropriate during these current times. My gratitude and compliments to Sri Sadguru, Sri Madhusudan Sai for his vision, higher purpose, values-based leadership that is helping to change and transform the lives of millions of young people through good nutrition, health, education, and well-being. Clearly, your mission is laudable as you are uplifting the quality of life through equity and inclusion. And to me, that is what is leadership. Leadership is no more about motivating and inspiring people. These are the typical definitions what we heard. I think it's about equity, it's about inclusion, it's about our future generations. It's about being candid and being authentic. I think the definitions of leadership, as Professor alluded to, is changing big time. It's also about partnerships, because we have boundless opportunities as well in addition to the challenges. And these boundless opportunities cannot be harnessed by one single entity. You need a 360-degree partnership. And for partnerships, you need trust. And for trust, you need transparency. So I think, to me, that is really the true milestone of leadership. And during the course of the 4 sessions, as Professor alluded to, I think we will get into more details of what leaders can do, should do, what are examples of good leadership, and what are examples of not so great leaderships. How just the simple focus on stock markets and profits means nothing going forward. So I think, to me, I think a lot of things have changed, and doing well by doing good is, to me, really the future way forward. With this, thank you very much and wish you have a great day.
We would like to extend our love and gratitude to Mr. Kamal Bali for his presence here today and for giving us insightful tips on today's topic of discussion. Our next speaker is Dr. Kiranmayi Pendyala. Dr. Kiranmayi was Head of Human Resources and Site Administration, Intercontinental Exchange India, the parent company of New York Stock Exchange, starting its data services operations in India in the year 2019. She's also the governing body member on several higher education institutions and deemed universities, as well as on United Way, Hyderabad. Dr. Kiranmayi is known for her championship of organization transformation, mergers and acquisitions, and change management initiatives. She brings together a unique blend of keen academic focus and organizational experience. Dr. Kiranmayi.
Sai Ram. It's really a wonderful opportunity for me to be here amidst such revered and enlightened souls. Honorable Sadguru Madhusudan Sai, Sri Narasimhamurthy Garu, Professor Anantram, Kamal, Lakshmi Narayana, and Somdev, and several of you who are leaders, and I guess the students who are leaders in the making. Everyone can be born a leader. There's always been a debate whether leaders are born or leaders are groomed. And today here we have this wonderful opportunity to talk about values-based leadership model and approach at the Sathya Sai School of Human Excellence. Why is the world today giving it such a huge importance? Why has this become so significant for all of us to start looking at values-based approach? Isn't it ironic? We talk about leadership and we talk about values-based approach. I would assume a leader is someone who would be bestowed with values-based approach. But the very fact we're looking at it, we're putting a lens on it, clearly suggests and indicates somewhere, as generations progressed, leadership has become devoid of values, or it has drifted away. This is the land of karma, Punya Bhumi, as we say. Here, if we go back, everywhere, any scripture we read, we talk about values. And some of us have grown with those samskars. But unfortunately, the world around seems to be caught up in an array of trauma, anxiety, you name it. I mean, we talk about VUCA world. It's a volatility, uncertainty, ambiguity, and complexity, which seems to have pulled these values out of leadership. And hence, once again, the spotlight has been on values-based leadership. And that's the right thing for all of us to look at. My former speaker, Kamal, has clearly talked about inclusivity and why the world needs this. Professor Anantram has also beautifully outlined, and I love the 3M, which he referred to. He talked about how it started with Mary, Maslow's hierarchy, and then he brought into Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai. One important aspect which I always learnt is Sarvendriyanam Nayanam Pradhanam is something I learned. What does that mean? And the 4-step approach, which we saw in the video, also talks about one of the steps for values-based approach or leadership is to see. Nayanam is not just the physical organ we're referring to be able to see. Yes, it's a gift. Several of us are bestowed with it. But there are others who may be challenged. But we're not talking about just that vision. We're talking about the vision which is beyond. We're talking about the strategic vision of a leader. So that aspect, to see beyond, to look beyond, and to be able to communicate that to the teams is so important. But when we're talking about values-based approach, I'm reminded of something which is so inherent in our upbringing if we pay attention to it. We use a word called alignment. Alignment for various things. That's where the anusandhan happens. So when I say alignment, what I learned and what I practice is manasa vacha karmana. What are we referring to? Manasa is what you think. Vacha is what you speak. Karmana is what you do. So if there is alignment, harmony, and synchronization among these three, what you think, what you speak, and what you do, what the world witnesses, what the teams witness, is that perfect alignment. And that's where, when we say we walk the talk, that is someone who has talked about a value are also practicing the value. When someone is thinking through and visioning an approach to lead teams, they're also able to put it into practice, not just in words, but also in deeds. And an important attribute of values-based approach is selfless leadership. Yesterday we heard from Sadhguru, where he said, selfless service. It's not just about education. It's not about getting degrees. That's where he beautifully distinguished between aparavidya and paravidya. It's not just to earn a means of livelihood, but also to be able to communicate and create role models so that everyone is a leader. How does everyone become a leader? A leader is someone who inspires and propels others to action. And that is where that inspiration, that motivation we are referring to, comes in when you're a selfless leader and you're ready to serve others for the larger good. And that is what values-based approach is talking about. It's one thing to talk about it and another to practice. All of us know this. The very fact that we have chosen this and we're all here to deliberate, an entire day is dedicated to it, clearly says how significant it is and what is missing in today's world, and what we all together as a collective have to continue to propagate, build, and inspire, not just self, but also inspire the others. So I'm looking forward to the day to listen in and learn, and also contribute my experiences of having been in the professional world for more than 3 decades and worked with various American companies. And today I mentioned this as well, that the management science could have come from the West, but values have always been and will continue to be in this Punya Bhumi. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kiranmayi. We'd like to extend our love and gratitude to you for your presence here today. Mr. Somdev Devvarman is our next speaker. He's ranked as the top tennis player in India. Mr. Somdev is celebrated for his exceptional performance and unwavering dedication to the world of sports. He has received prestigious accolades such as the Arjuna Award and the Padma Shri, along with the induction into the NCCA Hall of Fame. As a co-founder of the Ball Charitable Trust, he supports thousands of children every year, and as a co-founder of Get Fit Movement, he works on promoting sports development in schools across India. He serves as the National Observer for Tennis, mentors professional tennis players, and provides expert commentary during major sporting events. He's a regular media commentator on tennis at the Rio and Tokyo Summer Olympics, at the Australian Open, Asian Games, Maharashtra Open, and the Asian Games. He's also a high-performance coach at the Nenzel Academy in Pine, Germany. Mr. Somdev Devvarman, a big round of applause.
Well, thank you very much for that very generous introduction. If I was feeling a little nervous before coming up here, that certainly helped. But more than anything, just being around the dignitaries, Sri Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai, and everybody else, it's just incredibly humbling to be here. So thank you so much for having me. Now, if I was nervous before, when I looked up there, it said love all, serve all, and that was a little bit of a familiar place for me. So it is incredibly nice to be here. Now, we were talking a little bit about the different qualities that a person needs to have in terms of being a leader, and I couldn't help but notice that sports can be used as a tool. Sports can very much be used as a tool, not just for leadership, but just for so many different things. What we are trying to focus on with our foundation, with the work that we've done, is that sport is a tool that really allows us to get very, very, very close to the human experience. The human experience that every single one of us has always felt, whether it's winning, whether it's losing, whether it's failures, whether it's success, whether it's dealing with ethics, dealing with hard work, dealing with diligence, dealing with discipline. Every single one of these things, we all have a chance to experience it and to really, at the end of the day, come closer to ourselves through the experience that we can have through sport. Because it is very real. It is very real when you're standing on center court at Wimbledon and you're serving up against whoever it is. It is a very real experience. And of course, while it is important to perform, it's also very important to remember what these experiences are like, because at the end of the day, the destination is very important, but so is the journey. So with that, I would want to say just the values. One of the reasons why we all actually love sport is the fact that we are diving into the unknown. When we go out there to play, despite us being experts, whatever you want to call it, the reason one would feel nerves is because we truly don't know what we're about to experience. And we have that opportunity of really almost, just being completely a part of that human experience. And I think that's a beautiful thing for anyone to have out there. Since the future can't be known, you discussed the instabilities of life, the unknowns of life. And I do think that sport is one of those beautiful ways where, we can come together, we can break down barriers. One of the programs that we have, we talk a lot about the girl child in India. And the truth is for whatever reason, the place where we stand is that they do not have the same kind of opportunities that they ought to have. And just by providing opportunities, sport can be used as such a powerful tool, because at the end of the day, we can have a healthier community, we can have a more active community, and we can have a more conscious community. So I'll keep that short. We are going to be talking a lot more. I'm really excited to hear what everybody has to say in this meeting that we're having over the next few hours. It's going to be super exciting. I'll be back. Super happy to be here. Thank you so much. It's very humbling once again. And I look forward to interacting with you all as the day goes on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that spirited talk this morning. We'd like to extend our love and gratitude to you. We will now have the inaugural address by the founder of the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, Sadhguru Sri Madhusudan Sai.
On this very wonderful morning, as we gather to discuss yet another very important aspect of our societies, which is values-based leadership in all spheres of life. We are happy as a university to welcome the dignitaries on the stage. Mr. Kamal, Bali, despite the Bangalore traffic, he made it here, and that's an accomplishment. And we have Kiranmayi ji. She's been a supporter and a very eager participant in all our social service activities. So welcome to you as well. Mr. Lakshmi Narayan, he has been coming here. We've been meeting him for quite often. And he's here and he'll share his thoughts, I think, shortly. So welcome to you as well. And of course, the spirited, as it was mentioned, Somdev, who has managed to wake us all up from this sleepy morning with his energetic talk. And he mentioned love all, serve all. That's how a game begins. That's how a life also begins. When you love, you serve, and that's how you start going on in life. And I always say life is a game, play it. So that is how sports and life are so interconnected, so intertwined. Thanks to Professor Anantaraman for taking the lead to organize this leadership conclave. He's also written a fantastic book called Dharmic Management, which is available as an online course under our Institute of Human Values. And that's a great contribution with case studies and several questions and answers to help young generation of leaders to understand what it truly means to be a values-based leader. Narasimha ji, who's lived this life of to be, to do, to see, and lot to tell. And that is how he has been. He has 50 years of service in the field of education. And there are many, many eminent people in the crowd over there, down the stage. You have people from various countries who are seated here, and many are watching it live from various parts of the world. They are all leaders in their own might. Even the housewives or homemakers, as they say now, they are leaders in their own right, in their own homes. They have to make decisions for the family. So to all those leaders who are here with us in this room and everywhere else who are watching, I convey our warm greetings and welcome to this conclave. To be, to do, to see, to tell. This is what is the basis of leadership. That's what Bhagwan Baba taught us. To be is to truly live that idea, that purpose, that value system. You can't be one thing and do another thing, say another thing. That's not leadership, and that's what Kiranmayi ji put it together. It's called Trikarna Shuddhi in our culture, the harmony or synchronization of thought, word, and action. So to be is the very most so important at the core of leadership. If you are not what you want others to be, others won't be the way you want them to be. So to be is the only way to make others also to be. And when you are that, naturally everything that you do will reflect that value system that you embody. And to do comes from there. And if you want others to do what you want them to do, you have to do it first as a leader. So that's the second step of leadership. The third is to see. It's not enough if you are being that, you are doing that. But if you observe that people are not being that and people are not doing that, it's your duty to correct, make course corrections, take corrective measures. But how do you communicate these measures to them in the right way, in sufficient way, timely way, is to tell. And motivate them, inspire them to be and to do. So this is how Baba taught in very 4 simple steps. To be, to do, to see, to tell is the essence of leadership. And the session has been divided in these 4 parts, and I'm sure everybody will benefit from it. And you will know more about each of these aspects. Thanks to Mr. Kamal, he brought the idea of equity and inclusion in leadership. So also Somdev mentioned the participation of the better halves or the women of the society, which is lacking in our country and across the world. I'm told that less than 30% of the representation of women is there in corporate jobs or leadership positions across the world. And in developing countries, it is sometimes even lesser. So that is something that has to be addressed as a part of this conclave as well, I feel, how to create more opportunities for the women, for the girl child, to participate in the development of the society and especially in the field of leadership. Here today, I want to open this conclave with another thought. And while we will discuss all this, I was thinking while having my tea this morning, what should I convey to the people about leadership today? And I felt the most important aspect of leadership is decision making. Because every decision that the leader makes, considering the desha kala paristiti, the time, situations, and the various other aspects of the environment, has the effect on generations of people of that organization, the society, the country, and the world at large. So I think decision making is the most critical value, most important value that a leader should possess, and making the right decisions. The history is full of wrong decisions. In fact, I always think that whole human history is nothing but the outcome of collective decisions made by so many people of all right and wrong. Think of that young prince 10,000 years ago who decided to give up his throne to his stepbrother to keep the sanity of the state. Or think of that blind old king who, out of his attachment, did not mind having a war and destroying his entire dynasty for the sake of favoring his son. Or you think of a king who fought many battles and finally came across a spiritual leader and gave up weapons and became a Buddhist monk. Or think of, in more recent times, a big nation that used the nuclear weapons for the first time for mass destruction. Or think of a man who wanted peace in the society and that led to the partitioning of a country, the after effects of which are felt even till today. Or you think of another boy from an Ivy League institution who quit his so-called the Ivy League opportunity and started a computer company in the garage. Or even in recent times, a big nation that has invaded a small nation and sending ripples of its outcomes and effects to the entire world. These are all decisions. These are all decisions made by either an individual or an organization or a committee or a group of people, politicians, whatever. But every time a decision is made, small or big, it impacts the whole humanity. It impacts the world at large for generations, not just for them. And it sets a culture. It sets a precedence for others to follow. That is why Bhagavad Gita says, Yadyada charati shrestha tatad deve taro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. Which means the kind of behavior, the kind of conduct that the noble people demonstrate to the society, that is what the society in general, the ordinary and everybody follows. Therefore, it is so important for leaders who are in that position of authority and influence to set the right example for everybody to follow. And that is when decision making becomes very important. I was meeting with a group of people from one of the companies in Bombay, and the HR who had some dilemma in her mind, she asked this question, Swamiji, many times we have to make decisions. Sometimes we have to remove people. Now we know all these startup euphoria that is going on. Hiring and firing is the culture. You hire them when you are getting VC funding, and you fire them as soon as your profitability is at stake. And that's going on all the time. So maybe she was going through her own dilemma and she asked, how do I make a decision to remove somebody? For whatever reason, for the sake of profitability, for the sake of productivity, efficiency, how do I do that? Because I know there is a family behind that person. There are children who have to go to school. There are elderly parents whose healthcare needs have to be looked after, bills have to be paid, and so on. It breaks my heart whenever I have to remove the person. And I could not think but to depend on our scriptural wisdom. And if you go back to Mahabharata, in Viduraniti, this shloka comes, which is the algorithm or the methodology or a matrix for decision making. It says, Tyajet kulasyarthe purusham, gramasyarthe kulam tyajet, gramam janapadasyarthe, atmarthe prithvim tyajet. It's a very simple shloka which says, you can sacrifice an individual for the sake of the good of the family. You can sacrifice a family for the good of the community. You can sacrifice the community for the good of the country. And you can sacrifice the world itself for your highest good. Highest good does not mean your personal good, but the good that you can do for everyone by doing that which needs to be done. So this is the idea of leadership. When you make decisions from a collective perspective. How does my decision affect or influence everybody around me? Will it be good for all, or will it be good only for me, my company, my people, or my profitability? Or will it be good for the entire society? Am I setting the right precedence for the future generations to follow? These are the questions that every leader must think about before taking a decision. And as she said, we are living in a VUCA world. We do not know what's coming next, which pandemic, which war. What is next, we do not understand. But even in all these uncertainties, one thing is definitely certain, which is the right kind of decision making that we can do by following the principles of Dharma, which is to do the right for all. And Kathopanishad says, all the time we are presented with choices in our life. Our life is nothing but a series of choices that we have made. And as I said, human history is nothing but a series of decisions that have been made over centuries. What we live today is nothing but the outcome of all those choices and decisions made by so many people. And he said, Shreyascha preyascha manushya metat tau samparitya vivinakti dhiraha. A wise one discriminates carefully between what is pleasant or convenient and what is good and noble, even if it's inconvenient, even if it's uncomfortable. So that is the decision making that our leaders should learn. That is values-based decision making. And I think as long as we keep the planet, the people above the profits, the world will prosper. We have created a great world, $100 trillion GDP, world GDP. But at the same time, I always keep mentioning hundreds of millions of people go to sleep hungry every day. Tens of millions of children are out of school. Tens of millions of people cannot access basic necessities of life. So have we created that equity and inclusivity that Mr. Kamal was talking about through our decisions so far? I do not know. At least the situations don't seem to be that way. So can we change that? Can we influence the next generation of leaders, and of course those who are leading at present as well, to take the right decisions which are not only good for them, for their companies, for their organizations, for the communities in which they serve, but for the world at large. And it sets the right example for generations of leaders to follow. So that would be our asking from this leadership conclave and all the dignitaries and all the thought leaders who have come here. I wish them the very best in debating, in discussing, in ideating, but more importantly, coming up with a metrics, with an action plan of how we can help more people make right decisions in whichever way they serve the society, be it a householder, a homemaker, a teacher in the classroom, a manager in the office, a CEO of a company, a leader of a nation, or a global leader, whoever it is. How do we help them make the right decisions, which is values-based decision, which is dharmic decision, which sets the right precedence and example for generations to follow? That should be the asking, that should be the lookout for our leadership conclave. With these words, and thanking again all the organizers and the dignitaries who have arrived here and those who are going to speak to us, maybe some of them from online medium and people who are watching and listening to it. I hope this will go a long way in setting the right precedence, the right example for the world to follow. Wishing them all the very best, and I look forward to the day filled with many sessions, and I wish them again very well and welcome them to Sathya Sai Grama. And this is the first of the leadership conclave, and I hope in years to come we will have many more of these. With this idea and praying for the welfare of all, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkham Apnuyat.
Before we conclude the inaugural session, we'd like to extend our love and gratitude to Mr. Lakshmi Narayana, Chief Endowment Officer of Wipro India, with a little token of our love and gratitude for his presence here today. With this, we will conclude the inaugural session, and we will be back in 10 minutes to start the first session, chaired by Professor Anantharaman. Thank you.